Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to have you back here, and if this is your first time here on my channel, you're welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with us an easy way to cut and sew your 6-piece skirt. So if this is something you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let's get straight into this video. For this project, I'll be making use of this beautiful Ankara fabric which I have laid out here, and I have some lines marked out which I'll be explaining later, but for now let us do a little bit of calculation. So you'll be needing your hip measurement, and this your hip measurement you're going to be dividing it by 6. So if you're making an 8-piece skirt, you'll be dividing it by 8. If you're making a 10-piece skirt, you divide it by 10. All right, so I'm working with a hips of 38 inches divided by 6. I have 6.3333, and I'm just going to approximate this to 6.5. okay, so this is the measurement that we are going to be using. I have my fabric unfold here, and for the volume of fabric that I have, I multiplied that 6.5 inches that I got by 2, and that is what I'm going to be using. So you can decide to increase this if you want more volume, or if you're working with a lot of fabric, and you can reduce this if you want lesser volume, or you're working with a smaller amount of fabric. You know, this is Ankara fabric, and sometimes you always face fabric constraints because of the length of this fabric. Okay, so right here is my starting line. I came down by 1 inch and I marked this line. So this is my waistline as well as my starting line. This is my hip line, and this is my above the knee line. Okay, and finally I have the length of my skirt and ½ inch allowance added to it. Okay, so from my starting line, which is also my waistline, I marked the distance from my waist to my hip, which is 9 inches, and the distance from my waist to my above the knee measurement. I'm working with a knee measurement of 24. I came up by 4 inches. When you're making an A-line stuff like this, a 6-piece skirt or a mermaid skirt, it's always advised to come up at least 4 to 5 inches above your knee measurement. It gives you a better fit. For my length, I used 41, and then I added ½ inch for allowance. So in case your length is longer than 45 inches, which is the entire length of this Ankara fabric, you're going to be folding it selvage to selvage, just like I just showed you. Okay, so now we are going to be imputing this measurement that we did earlier, this 6.5 inches, and since my fabric is on fold, I'm going to be dividing this 6.5 inches into 2, and I'll be having 3.25 inches. Then I'm going to be adding 1 inch for joining allowance to join these panels together, and I am going to be having a total of 4.25 inches. So this 4.25 inches is what I am going to be marking like this. So I need you to pay close attention. So on my waistline, I am marking that 4.25 inches. I'm also going to be marking that on my hip line, 4.25 inches. Then on my above the knee line, I am going to be subtracting ½ inch from that. Okay, so that it is not going to be straight, so that it will give us like that curve, that smooth curve. Okay, so I'm going to be subtracting ½ inch from that, and that will be 3.75 inches. So with the help of my straight ruler, I am going to be connecting these points together like so. So after connecting this together, this is what I have, and the next thing that I'm going to do is just go ahead and draw in a slanted line. That's my A line to meet the hem like this. So this is where I'm placing my long ruler. I'm just drawing out a slanted A line like this. So basically we are almost done with the first panel. The last thing I'm going to do is come up by 1.25 inches from the hem and curve it towards the center front, and this is just going to help eliminate pointy ends. If you don't do this and you join it together, those ends are going to be pointed and it's not going to come out looking nice. So this is what I have thus far, and I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. Alright, so I have one panel ready, and as you can see, I did not cut out that waistline, that 1 inch allowance is what I'm going to be using to join this to my upper bodice, because I'm actually making this into a gown. If you're making this into a skirt, I intend to add a band, then you should subtract your band measurement and add ½ inch for seam allowance when you're taking your measurements. I hope this makes sense. So now I have one piece. I am going to go ahead and cut out 4 more pieces. Okay, we need 6 pieces. Okay, this is 1 piece, but I'll go ahead and cut out 4 more pieces for now. Now if you pay close attention, you're going to see that I have more fabric on this side than I have on this side. This is the effect you're going to have because of that A line. Okay, so now I'm going to be placing that my first panel onto this one. I'm going to be placing the A line now towards this side that is fuller, and this will help us conserve fabric a lot. So if you want to really conserve fabric, you're going to cut this one by one. You're not going to fold and cut multiple. If not, your fabric may not be enough. Okay, so I have placed this like so, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out my second panel. I'll go ahead and cut out my third, fourth and fifth panel, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like so that we can cut the center back panel where the zipper allowance is supposed to sit. Alright guys, so right here I have 5 pieces. 1 2 3 4 5 pieces. So I am going to just go ahead and take out 1 piece, and I'm going to be using this 1 piece to cut out my center back, because you know my center back has a zipper allowance. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone ahead to fold in my fabric, but I folded this way more than I did for the rest. This is because I want to extend the center back. I want to extend out this A line at the center back to have more volume. Okay, so I have gone ahead to place one of the panels, and the distance I have from that panel to the center back is about 8 inches. If you want more volume at the back, you can go ahead and extend it by more inches, but I'm managing my fabric. So right here from the center, I am just rolling out those lines, which is my above the knee line and my hip line, and I'm going to be marking my zipper allowance from there. My zipper allowance is going to be 1.5 inches for now, so I'm just going to mark it across like this, and I am going to be ruling a straight line to meet at the waistline. I hope this is clear. So the next thing I'm going to do now is draw a slanted line from that my above the knee line all the way down to the hem, and as you can notice, my front panel is shorter than my back panel by, let's say, 3 inches, and I'm just going to be using the whole of that like this. Normally I'm supposed to have a fishtail extension for more beautiful and dramatic effect, but because I'm working with an Ankara fabric that is by 45 inches, I cannot really achieve that. So this is me drawing in my slanted line, and this is me curving that excess from the back towards the sides like this, so I have a little bit of fishtail extension going on right there. So if you want to have more fishtail extension, all you need to do is fold your fabric selvage to selvage, or if you're working with a fabric that is longer, then you need to extend it more by the down. So I went ahead to cut out the sides, and this is me cutting out the center back. So guys, let me know in the comment section if you want me to do a separate tutorial on how to cut and sew a 6-piece skirt with a cut together train extension using Ankara fabric, and also maybe plain fabric, but most especially Ankara fabric. So this is what I have after cutting it. So I'm going to bring one more panel, and this makes it 3 panel for the back, although it looks like 4 panel, but it's 3 panel and that is the 3 panel for the front. So I'm going to go ahead and start joining my panels together, but before I open this up to join this, I am going to be making a notch on the center back. That is where the zipper allowance is supposed to sit, so that I will not make a mistake of joining the side panel to the zipper allowance side. Okay, I hope this makes sense. So after making that notch, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to be bringing one of the center back and bring one of the panels, and I'm going to be joining it at the sides. Okay, so I'm going to be joining it with 1 inch. You know, I added 1 inch to this when I was cutting for joining allowance. So I'm going to bring the other center back panel, and I'll bring the other side panel and I'll be joining it to the side. Okay, and these are the front panels, 3 front panels. So I'm just going to be joining these together. You can join it at any side, this one does not really matter. After joining all my pieces together, this is what I have. This is the front. As you can see, 3 panels. I went ahead to join it by 1 inch and I went ahead to open press my seams. I would advise you to open press your seams. It's going to help them lay flat and come out well. And I went ahead to make notches around that above the knee area where we did our A-line slant to help it relax properly. And these are the center back pieces. Right now I have 2 of it. By the time I join it, it's going to be 3 panels. I also went ahead to cut out the same thing for my lining and join them, and I open press my seams as well. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and shape out this my skirt. Okay, you know, when we were doing all these things we did not input our waist measurement and hip measurement and all that. So I'm folding my front panel now into 2 and I'll go ahead and shape this skirt out. So this method that I'm showing you, I feel like it's one of the easiest method. There are different methods, but I feel like this particular method does not have too much calculations, and I know that a lot of people don't like calculations. So from the top I came down by 1 inch. Remember that 1 inch that I came down initially when we were drafting this initially. So from that line I'm going to be coming down by 9 inches, which is the distance from my waist to my hips, and then I'll be coming down by 20 inches, which is the distance from my waist to my above the knee measurement. Okay, and I'm going to impute my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 7 inches, and I'll add 2 inches seam allowance to that. That's what I did. I don't know what happened there. I don't know the magic that happened there. On my hip line, I'm marking my hip measurement divided by 2, which is 9.5 plus 2 inches, which ends exactly where my fabric ends. And then on my hip line, I am marking I'm going to be subtracting 2 inches from my hip measurement. I'm going to mark that and then add my 2 inches for seam allowance. So guys, I feel like with this particular method you end up having only about 1.5 to 2 inches left for seam allowance. Okay, so that is the only downside of using this method. So if you want to have like more seam allowance, you may not be able to have it with this method. Okay, so this is me just slanting this towards my A-line, and I am going ahead to cut this out with my scissors. After cutting out my front pattern, panel okay, front part of my skirt, this is what it looks like, and I'm going to be placing it onto the back part of my skirt so that we can work on the back. So take your time to place it and arrange it like so. So you can decide to just add only your zipper allowance and, you know, go ahead and cut this out. Okay, but this skirt does not have a dart, and a lot of people do not add darts to their 6-piece skirt, but me, I'm going to be using the dartless skirt pattern technique. I have a tutorial on my channel that explains in detail how to cut a dartless skirt, but I am going to be showing you how I did it here. So this is me marking out my hip line, and I am going to be marking out my above the knee line right here at the center back like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be eliminating the zipper allowance on the waist. Okay, from this my center back, I'm supposed to add 1 inch for zipper allowance, but I am going to be eliminating that. I will not be adding that there, rather I will move it to the side. Okay, do you understand what I did there? I will not be adding any zipper allowance to the center back of my waist, but I'll be adding it to the side at the back. And then on the hip, I'm now going to be marking down my 1 inch for zipper allowance. I hope this makes sense. All right, and then on my knee line, above the knee line, you can decide to mark that 1 inch zipper allowance there, but for me, I am going to be dividing it into 2. So I'm marking ½ inch on this side of my above the knee line. I'm marking ½ inch on this other side of above the knee line. So I'm going to be connecting these points together like so. A very quick recap: on the center back of my waistline, I did not add any zipper allowance. Instead, I moved it to the side. Then on my hip line, I marked 1 inch for zipper allowance, and then on my above the knee line, I marked ½ inch. I divided down my zipper allowance into 2, so I marked half on this side and marked half on the other side. So I hope this makes sense. So this is me connecting the points together. So in case you find this a little bit confusing, I have a very detailed tutorial which I'm going to be leaving somewhere on the screen here and in my description box, so that you can watch how to cut a dartless pencil skirt. Or you can decide to just go ahead and sew it without a dart. I think it will still come out fine. A lot of people do that. So after connecting this point, I'm going to be slanting any excess that I'll have into my A line. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut this out after slanting it into my A line. After cutting this out, you're going to notice that the center back and the side back look quite similar because they are curved, and this is me making a notch on the center back where my zipper allowance is supposed to sit, so that I would not be confused. All right, I also did the same thing for my lining pieces. I placed this on my lining pieces and I cut out the exact same thing. So this is me opening up my front piece, and I'm going to be placing my linings right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be stitching the sides. I'm not going to be stitching the down part of this my skirt because I want to pipe it. After stitching it, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to notch all the curved parts so that it will relax properly when I turn it out and iron it. And this is my hem. I did not stitch it down like I said, but you can decide to stitch this down. That's use the lining to turn it over. All you need to do is sew the hem part first, go ahead and make an under stitch before you now stitch the sides. Okay, so after turning this over to the right sides, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to give it a nice press, and I'm going to be aligning my backs together, the back pieces together, and I'm going to be stitching the zipper allowance area by 1/2 inch to secure it in place. And I'm going to be opening this up, and I'll place it right sides facing each other on the front piece. So I'm going to align this properly, and with the help of my pins I'm going to secure this in place, and then I'll go ahead and take my body measurements. Okay, so I lost that particular footage of where I was marking in my body measurement, but it is basically the same thing, the same way I marked my body measurement when I was shaping this out. Okay, the normal way you mark out your body measurements. So this is what I have. I'll go ahead and stitch this down, and after stitching this down, this is what I have. At this point you can go ahead and add your waistbands, and your zipper and your skirt is basically ready. This is the outcome of my 6 pieces skirt. I was really conserving fabric a lot because I used 6 yards of fabric to make a dress with a drape and puff sleeves, so I really had to manage. And with that being said, we've come to the end of this tutorial. If you found this video helpful at all, go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe to this channel if you're not yet subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.